Hello, Guru Nation. Let's talk Rage, Gnosis, and Willpower. So, these are three stats that it's not always readily clear what they're all, what they're for, especially when you're just starting out. So, I just wanted to go over these real briefly and talk about what they're used for, maybe some of the things you may not have picked up on from the book, and how I use it in my games. So, let's start with Rage. Um, the most common thing that people use Rage for in my games is extra actions. So I'm not going to go and do a full combat tutorial here, but but my players end up using Rage to get extra actions during combat. Um, I just did a video on Frenzy, so your Rage is also used for calculating Frenzy. Being, going into a frenzy state is almost universally bad. However, it does have one of the benefits of you get to ignore wound penalties when you're frenzying. But that's a pretty small benefit and a pretty bad place to be that you kind of don't want to be in. Now, the book says you can use Rage to change forms instantly without having to roll Stamina and Primal Urge. I don't ever make my players roll Stamina and Primal Urge to shapeshift. To me, it's like you are a Guru. You're not human. You're not wolf. You are a Guru. You are a werewolf. That is your species. Your natural form is Krynos, not Hamid or Lupus. You are a werewolf. So it always kind of felt not great to make people roll to do the thing that they're kind of born to do. So I don't make players roll for that. They can just change forms. Now, a lot of times my players will spend a rage point to change forms and also take another action that turn, but that's just an extra action. Stuns. Now this is interesting because I don't know if it talks about stun in other places in the book. It very well might. But if you lose more health levels in one turn than you have stamina, then you have permanent stamina, you're technically stunned and you lose the ability to take turns on the next round, or to take your turn in the next round. But by spending a rage point, you can ignore the stun. So if you have, let's say, your character has 3 health levels in stamina, and you take 4 health levels of damage, maybe you get shot in your Hamid form or something, then you would be stunned and you would be unable to take a turn. But you can spend a rage point to ignore the effect. If you fall below incapacitated on your health level chart, you can use rage to keep going. You roll your rage, just like a normal frenzy check, actually, and it is technically also a frenzy check. They place the difficulty at 8, which is pretty high, but every success you get to heal a health level regardless of wound type, which is pretty impressive because it means that you could potentially heal wounds from silver. I don't know of any other way to do that. Then again, I don't exactly have this book memorized, and healing gifts may well do that. I need to double check. But generally speaking, aggravated wounds and especially silver wounds are really, really difficult to heal. So being able to do this when you fall below incapacitated is pretty strong. Any wound that you heal this way will leave a battle scar. So there's that, but small price to pay for, being able to heal a wound and keep yourself in the fight. Something that's worth noting, for every point of rage you have above willpower, you lose a full die on all social interaction rolls. That is a pretty big deal, especially if you didn't take a lot of, social stats to begin with, So I don't know that a lot of people know this when they're creating their character. It's one of those caveats I think that likely gets skipped over a lot. But yeah, having too much rage is, again, every point of rage above your willpower, you lose a full die. You lose it, so if you have 5 rage and 2 willpower, you lose 3 dice on every social interaction roll, which is pretty crazy. Now, something that I think is worth considering is maybe you don't play that for intimidation rolls. Maybe you even give players a bonus on intimidation rolls. Although I don't think I would probably do that because I don't want to incentivize being a, homicidal maniac. But yeah, if you have spent all your rage and willpower points, so all rage and willpower, you have lost the wolf, and you cannot regain rage, and you cannot shift anything except to your breed form until the rage returns. The book has a lot of different ways to regain rage. You regain rage every time you see the moon at night, or the first time you see the moon at night, the beast stirs, and you get more rage depending on the moon. You'll get 1 point under a new moon, and 4 points under a full moon. Again, and I talk about this in the Frenzy video, I don't really want to have to track the moon in my games, so I don't usually use this. Generally speaking, after my characters, or after my players have had a full good night's rest, they just get their rage, gnosis, and willpower back. That just makes it easy. But the book says when you see the first light of the moon, you get anywhere from 1 to 4 points of rage back, depending on the phase of the moon. New moon, of course, there is no light of a new moon, but I guess if you see a sliver of moon on something right next to the new moon, you would get 1 point, and for a full moon, you would get 4. If you botch, you might get a rage point. Well, this is all temporary rage. If you're humiliated, if you're in a confrontation or an argument, the book actually wants you to roll to see how much rage you possess at the beginning of each new story. Again, all of this really doesn't feel great to me because it's not fun to play a character when you create your character and you were like, okay, I have purposely planned my character to have 5 points of rage and 5 points of willpower so I don't suffer these effects, and blah, 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 whatever. But you've planned it out, and then even though you've kind of planned your character to have these things, it turns out that at the beginning of the story, it's really random what you actually get. And that just seems like not fun. So I'm not going to do that. Gnosis. You cannot use Gnosis and Rage in the same turn unless a gift requires both to function. I don't find myself using Gnosis very often. But yeah, you can't use it in the same turn as Rage unless both are required for your gift. You lose a point of Gnosis. You lose an effective point of Gnosis. It's still on your character sheet, but it's not available to spend anymore for every silver object you have. I think Grand Claves actually make you lose 2 Gnosis. A lot of gifts require you to spend Gnosis to activate them. And then fetishes, you have to spend a Gnosis to attune or activate a fetish a lot of the time. Well, to attune, you always spend the Gnosis to attune. Activating fetishes, I didn't know it was always to activate a fetish, but I would need to look that up. The book wants you to engage in meditation, go on a sacred hunt, bargain with spirits. These are the ways they want you to regain Gnosis. And then they've got you like rolling wits at Enigma and all of this kind of craziness to get your Gnosis back. I find that very limiting. And so what I tend to do is just say, again, you go to sleep, you get a good night's sleep, you get all your Gnosis back. Again, I don't know that all the rules make for a great experience, and it just feels like a lot of clutter. So, you get a good night's rest, you get Gnosis. Willpower. Willpower is a neat one because willpower you can get automatic successes. You can spend a willpower point to basically automatically succeed at something. Usually when you do this, you don't get like an amazing success, but you know, it's kind of like a mediocre success. You get it done. It's not amazingly good, but it's not bad either. Or at least that's the way I've seen it played. Actually, this is something different. Spending a willpower point gives the player one extra success on any roll. Now, this is kind of neat. Because that means that you can negate the effects of a botch. I am not going to do that because botches are fun. I don't want, when my players roll the dice and it botches, everyone groans, everyone knows that something really goofy is about to happen, and that's a fun moment. So I'm not going to let people spend willpower. If you roll the dice, you roll the dice. If you want to spend the willpower point, then spend the willpower point. But, yeah. I'm not going to... Because botching is actually one of the most fun parts of the game in a lot of ways. You can use willpower, you can spend a willpower to halt a frenzy. You may have to spend a willpower point to get yourself out of something that, is a difficult situation. Your character was in a bad car accident. Now they don't want to... now they have this phobia around cars because they were in this really horrible car accident. Maybe you have to spend a willpower point to make yourself get into the car. Stuff like that. One of the things that's interesting is that you can actually spend a willpower point to overcome wound penalties. So, yeah, it's for a single roll, right? So, you're badly mangled in a fight, you can spend a willpower point to ignore your wound penalties for one action, which I think is pretty nice. They have ways to recover willpower. You recover your willpower according to the book when a story is complete, when you achieve a personal victory, if a character performed his auspice duties particularly well, which I think is kind of feels a little random to me. But again, none of these feel particularly great. For me, I'm just like, you get a good night's rest, you get your willpower back. Maybe if there was something really weird going on, and there was a story reason why, you're just emotionally drained and just aren't going to get it, I can see that. But generally speaking, if my if my characters get a good night's rest, I don't see why they shouldn't wake up, back at full battle capacity the next day. But I think it does depend to a point. Anyway, so that's willpower, Gnosis, and Rage. Rage, Gnosis, and Willpower. Like, comment, subscribe. I say that because that's what you're supposed to say, right? Farewell, Guru Nation. Go kick warm butt.